personal responsibility, right? So you're saying it's our fault we're fat?
Yes, it is. I'm not even going to read the rest of your comment because the argument ends there. Nobody forces you to eat more than what your body needs. Your dietary choices are just that. Your choices, your responsibility. You control your calorie intake, not society, you. Spare me the sob story because I don't care. But my feels, fuck your feelings. I'm sick of this shit. You're not oppressed because you failed to learn when to put the fork down. Your fatness isn't a skin color, an ethnic group, or sexual orientation. You have control over what you eat, and it's your own damn fault if you don't eat right.
Lol, what does that BuzzFeed video even have to do with feminists? Lol, this video screams butthurt.
Are you really going to sit there and tell me you think BuzzFeed's 36 questions women have for men video has nothing to do with feminism? A video which references the wage gap, rape culture, manspreading, and pretty much every feminist talking point you can think of? Are you really that ignorant of the situation, Mr. Nasser? Furthermore, have you ever noticed that people who throw around accusations of butthurtness are more often than not butthurt themselves? I mean, you wouldn't feel the need to call somebody butthurt for expressing their opinion unless you yourself were offended by said opinion. Maybe you're the one who's butthurt if this is the level of projection and denialism you have to exercise to distance yourself from the idiots in this video. Have you ever thought about that?
For someone who sure claims to hate feminism a lot, the anti-feminists sure do talk about it constantly. Think they're more obsessed with it than even the feminists. What happened to when people had a life and didn't care about this shit? I think even pedos, racists, and Justin Bieber aren't hated as much.
The feminist movement is pro-censorship, pro-segregation, actively fights against fathers' rights, advocates against the presumption of innocence, and perpetuates misinformation about the nature of domestic violence and rape. Why the fuck shouldn't I criticize feminism?
Okay, this title should be changed to 50 Questions for Misandrists. You seem to be mistaking feminists for misandrists. Feminists fight for equal rights, misandrists hate men. So back off and do your research before judging feminists for something they didn't do.
Feminists are misandrists, and that's because feminism is inherently anti-male, and it's anti-male because it's entirely predicated on the notion that there exists a patriarchy which unilaterally privileges men to the detriment of women. Of course, this is demonstrably false, but since feminism hinges on the narrative of perpetual systemic female victimhood at the hands of a male-controlled society, they can't acknowledge the systemic inequalities faced by men. They have to ignore or deny the realities of male victims of domestic abuse who are denied recourse, the high rate of male suicide, the difficulties faced by men and boys in education, the high rate of male homelessness, and so on. In this worldview, men are the oppressors, the rapists, the wife-beaters, and the enemies. Men can never be the victims because any acknowledgement that maybe men don't have it so great is an admission that the idea that a male-controlled society favors men may not be so valid, and that maybe women aren't perpetual victims of the big bad patriarchy after all. Feminism needs legitimacy, so it needs a villain to fight against, so they cling to this false narrative about men keeping women down with a system designed to keep men at the top, and so they must refuse to acknowledge that men are also the ones making up the bottom. If these people really believed in equality, without also believing that the inequalities that exist between the genders are unilaterally slated in favor of men at the expense of women, they wouldn't call themselves feminists, they would call themselves egalitarians, but they don't do that. Instead, they engage in damage control and insist that feminism is about equality because it says so in the dictionary, and in doing so they demonstrate that they don't really care about equality, all they care about is the label. You cannot claim to be a movement for equality between the genders when you are exclusively concerned with the issues of one to the complete exclusion of the other. If you want to convince me that feminists really do stand for equality, then tell me, what, if anything, has feminism done to help men? Because I can think of quite a few ways in which it's harmed men.
It's not in their culture to rape. They just came out from a war zone and saw women that weren't covered. They're uneducated.
The person who posted this comment might not actually be a feminist, but I'm going to respond to it anyway. This comment was actually posted in reply to another comment by somebody talking about the prevalence of sexual assaults and rapes committed by Muslim migrants in Europe. When I made my video Teach Men Not to Rape is Stupid Rhetoric, I was talking about the United States and the Western world in general because this is where feminist rhetoric about teaching men not to rape is heard. But the original poster does make a fair point that you can easily argue that Middle Eastern countries living under Sharia could accurately be described as rape cultures. After all, marital rape is totally legal in many of these countries, and these countries also make it so that any woman who is a victim of rape requires the testimony of a male witness in order to press charges, or it's considered an admission of adultery, and she can be punished for it. It's also very much ingrained in the general mentality of these cultures that women should cover themselves up in order to prevent men from being tempted to fornicate with them. And even though it's illegal, sexual slavery is extremely common in some of these countries. Now, the idea that men can't control themselves is obviously bullshit, but this person's argument is in the same spirit. What they're basically saying is that Muslim men can't reasonably be expected to control themselves when they see an uncovered woman, and that they should be excused for being raised in a culture that teaches them that an uncovered woman is free game for sexual assault. By arguing that these men are uneducated, this person is, in effect, arguing that rape is indeed a part of their culture since they don't understand that a woman being uncovered is not a license to rape. This person is effectively defending sexual assault in order to defend Islam and ironically fails to see how arguing that Muslim men don't know how to keep their hands to themselves doesn't really help to make Islam look any better.
Change the title to 36 stupid feminist questions answered by a fucking asshole. And this is coming from a male.
Oh wow, you really told me off. Yup, I'm an asshole, and that instantly invalidates everything I say. Why does the fact that you're a male even matter? Do you think I've never seen a male feminist before? Do you think it somehow makes your point more valid, like you expected me to think to myself, oh well, this guy's a male just like I am, but he disagrees with me, so I must be wrong about something? Have you ever seen a female anti-feminist? Because there's quite a few of them out there. Does knowing that shake up your worldview? See, unlike some people, I actually don't give a shit if you're a man or a woman. But people like you seem to think gender is the most important thing ever. All you see is people's genders, and that's the reason why everyone is so sick of people like you. And you still sit there wondering why Hillary lost.
Thank you.